The Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans was the professional wrestling tag team of Afa and Sika in Mid-South Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, and the World Wrestling Federation, WWF. The Samoans held 21 tag team championships around the world. Gimmick. The Wild Samoans rarely spoke in interviews, instead grunting in a primitive dialect that only their manager Captain Lou Albano could understand. They had afros and Fu Manchu mustaches. Completing their wild man image, the duo engaged in outrageous behavior such as nose-picking, biting opponents, and eating raw fish during interviews. History. Early years. The team began its career in Stu Hart's Calgary, Alberta, Canada-based Stampede Wrestling in 1973, where they won the Stampede International Tag Team Championship on 2 occasions. Then they went to Vancouver and won the tag titles there. In 1975 they made their debut in the United States for Big Time Wrestling in Detroit. They spent the majority of the 1970s in various National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, territories. World Wrestling Federation. In 1979, the Wild Samoans joined the World Wrestling Federation, WWF. They were initially billed as simply the Samoans before reverting to their better-known name. They made their Madison Square Garden debut on January 21, 1980 in a WWF Tag Team Championship match against Tito Santana and Ivan Putski, who retained their title. In the upcoming months, both men became contenders for Bob Backlund's WWF Championship, but neither man won the gold. They, however, won their first championship in the WWF, the Tag Team Championship, by defeating Santana and Putski on April 12, 1980. They reigned as champions for approximately 5 months, until dropping the title to Backlund and Pedro Morales in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Showdown at Shea. Because Backlund was already the reigning WWF champion, the team had to forfeit the title, and a tournament was held to crown new tag champions. On September 8, 1980, the Wild Samoans defeated Tony Garea and René Goulet in the tournament finals to win the title. Their reign lasted for 1 month, until they lost to Garea and his new partner, Rick Martel. The Wild Samoans feuded with the champions for the rest of the year, but they were not able to recapture the gold. Mid-South and Georgia. In late 1981, changing their name back to the Samoans, they joined Mid-South Wrestling. With Big Cat Ernie Ladd as their financial advisor and manager, and then changing their team name from the Samoans to the Samoan Warriors, with which they won the Mid-South Tag Team Championship and feuded with Junkyard Dog and Dick Murdoch. After also attacking Ladd, the two began a feud with their former advisor. In response, Ladd, when their contract was bought out by Skander Akbar, Ladd formed a team with Iron Mike Sharp, with whom he forced the Wild Samoans to leave Mid-South. After leaving Mid-South, the duo appeared in Georgia Championship Wrestling. As part of the territory, they defeated the Fabulous Freebirds for the NWA National Tag Team Championship, which they later vacated. Returned to the World Wrestling Federation. The Wild Samoans eventually ended up back in the World Wrestling Federation with their former manager Captain Lou Albano in 1982. This time they grew full beards that were scruffy and bushy looking. Afa and Sika began their third WWF Tag Team Championship reign on March 8, 1983 by defeating Chief Jay and Jules Strongbow. In a rematch on March 19, they were also victorious. Also during this time, while feuding with Rocky Johnson, Jimmy Snuka, and Andre the Giant, the duo added Afa's son Samala to their team, first as a replacement for Sika when he got hurt, then as their backup upon his return. They lost their tag team title to the team of Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas on November 15. During the match, Albano tried to interfere on the Samoans' behalf by attempting to hit Atlas over the head with a chair. He accidentally hit Afa instead, however, and Atlas covered him for the win. The North-South Connection, Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch, would later defeat Atlas and Johnson for the tag titles on April 17, 1984. The Samoans turned face and challenged them in a lengthy feud. After failing to regain the belts, the duo eventually left the WWF in 1985 and reappeared in Pro Wrestling USA, NWA/AWA, where they had a dream match vs the Road Warriors. The bout ended in a double DQ. Sika reappeared for a lengthy run in the WWF from 1986-88, now managed by Mr. Fuji, performing both in singles competition and as a tag team, partnered with Kamala. Kamala and Sika's biggest match as a tag team was a loss to the Can-Am Connection on Superstars of Wrestling. Sika also participated in the Invitational Battle Royal that opened WrestleMania 4. He was the second one eliminated. Afa returned to WWF in 1992 and went on to manage his son, Samu, and his nephew Fatu as the head shrinkers. He left the WWF in 1995. Later years. After WWF and AWA they went to wrestle in the independent circuit from 1986 to 1991. In 1987 they made a few appearances in National Wrestling Federation. On September 10, 1988 they lost to Jimmy Valiant and Rufus R. Jones by disqualification at World Wrestling Council's 15th Anniversario 1988 in Puerto Rico. In 1991 they split up and both men went their separate ways. Sika would retire from wrestling and trained wrestlers at the Wild Samoans Training Center. Afa managed the head shrinkers in the WWF from 1992 to 1995. After WWF, Afa continued to train other wrestlers. In 1996 Afa founded World Extreme Wrestling based in Allentown, Pennsylvania. On August 15, 1997 both men reunited for one night teaming with Disco Inferno, Gene Ligon, and the Big Cheese as they defeated Ken Timms, George Love, Jay Love, Gary Royal and Kane Adams at IWA Night of the Legends in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Post-tag team careers. During the late 1970s, Afa and Sika opened the Wild Samoans Training Center, and the school's graduates include Paul Orndorff, Junkyard Dog, Luna Vachon, Michael P.S. Hayes, Yokozuna, Bam Bam Bigelow, Rikishi, Sherry Martel, Virgil, Billy Kidman, Gene Snitsky, Chris Kenyon and Batista. They also promote live wrestling shows under the WXW banner. In 2007, on the eve of WrestleMania 23, the Wild Samoans were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. They were inducted by their sons Samala and Matt Anoa'i. In 2013 and 2014 Afa came out of retirement to wrestle for his promotion World Extreme Wrestling at age 71. Championships and accomplishments.